A large portion of the gold bars at the Bank of England are fake. Check this out, how crazy is that? Additionally, the Bank of England currently cannot issue its gold, which makes it even worse. This is now confirmed by a report from the Australian Central Bank. It should be noted that the report is not entirely new, but it's currently trending on social media. Let's take a look at what's behind this. Additionally, it is now coming to light that the crypto and Bitcoin market was systematically manipulated. There were insiders involved who pumped the Trump, Melania, and Milei coins. And now these insiders are talking about how they were informed early on that there was insider trading and that there were very, very nasty schemes that led to the loss of billions of dollars here. And this whole situation hasn't left Bitcoin unscathed. We are looking into these insider leaks, or these insiders who are now speaking openly for the first time about this systematic fraud. And then we have new, exciting statements from Christian Lindner, the former finance minister of Germany, who is talking about Bitcoin. We will also take a look at that. But first, we will actually start with the Bank of England. I recently reported on this, that currently so many people want to withdraw their gold. But now there are delivery difficulties. The Bank of England can no longer deliver the gold. And I'll say it right at the beginning, this report here is not brand new, but it's being highlighted again because it fits very well with the current context, that the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Central Bank of Australia, has confirmed that gold items in the Bank of England are counterfeit. The Central Bank of Australia confirms that there are counterfeit gold items in the Bank of England, and it further states here, don't trust, verify, so just don't trust the central bank. It goes even further here, and it is mentioned that there are also rumors that it's not only in the Bank of England, but it's in several banks, that is, several central banks, that there are counterfeit gold bars lying around. And that's why there's now the story about the audit at Fort Knox. If it turns out that there's no gold at all or much less gold, it will definitely have an impact on the markets. It is stated in this report, and this is truly shocking, that this information is strictly confidential. And we ask that it not be shared outside the Permanent Senate Committee on Economics. We ask that it remains in the possession of the Secretariat and be reviewed by committee members, but not copied. The release of this data would pose security risks for the Reserve Bank. And that's also why many people say Fort Knox is not audited, because such things might come to light. You can also see that there are certain non-disclosure clauses here. They didn't want to bring it to the public's attention here that the gold bars are counterfeit, but it somehow leaked to the public. And that is very, very embarrassing for a central bank in hindsight. It even goes further here, stating that the existence of counterfeit gold products was discovered in the past due to the presence of duplicate serial numbers from refineries. So that's how they somehow found out that duplicate serial numbers were in circulation. And that's obviously a problem. It means that if you're going to make a counterfeit, you should also follow through with the serial number. But it's always the case that such counterfeits are never perfect. And sooner or later, such a counterfeit gets noticed. The problem is, with gold, it's very, very difficult to determine whether it's really counterfeit or not. That's the big advantage with Bitcoin, that you can immediately determine whether it's counterfeit or not. To be honest, it's not a current report, but rather from 2021. But it fits well into the current context. And that's why it's being brought up again, here on social media. A lot of people have commented on it, retweeted it, posted it. And it's just another story that adds to the current events here. And it's really significant for Bitcoin. Bitcoin and gold are not necessarily completely dependent on each other or something like that. I mean, we often see that the gold price runs a bit ahead of Bitcoin and then pulls Bitcoin along. But it's particularly interesting here because Bitcoin has similar properties to gold, and Bitcoin is already, you could say, a competitor, and many people, for example, are also shifting from gold to Bitcoin because they simply realize, okay, I'm tired of the gold not being delivered. I'm tired of fake gold bars lying around somewhere, and I'm also tired of only paper gold or something like that existing. And then I just switch over to Bitcoin. But again, you can also hold both. The gold price doesn't look so bad at the moment either. So it's quite conceivable that the gold price could go even higher. And then we had the whole story, first with the Trump coin, then the Melania coin, and finally now with the Milei coin. And we saw that these were all massive rug pulls, where only a very, very few people benefited from it. Most people were massively rugged, meaning they lost a lot of money here. And now insider trading is actually coming to light. And this is a really, really intense story that's being uncovered because it also has an impact on Bitcoin. It has an impact on the entire crypto market. You can also see the Libra coin going down, the Trump coin going down. The only one who, let's say, didn't let himself be fooled was actually here, Melania. You really have to give him credit for that. So here in El Salvador, there are no shitcoin games and such. Okay, when you hear things like no more legal tender and who knows what else, he always went through with Bitcoin without all that. There were never any gimmicks or anything like that involved here, and that needs to be emphasized. We will also watch a video clip from an insider who really lays everything on the table, who really tells it like it is and clearly states how things went down here, how these scams happened, that there are insiders here, and that the market was systematically manipulated. First, we also see here that it is now coming out that the Libra coin and the Melania coin were created by the same founders. So basically, it was all the same people. Therefore, we also need to somewhat defend Millet and Melania here because, just like Trump, because they apparently probably didn't have much to do with the coin either, or rather, they were probably deceived themselves here. That means they were probably also manipulated here. I can't imagine that Millet was lining his pockets here. But it was just a very, very unfortunate coming together because it reflects badly on Millet. And yes, you can't completely absolve him of blame here, and he certainly had some degree of responsibility. Now there's also a case against him, and he's being charged now. And who knows, we'll have to see what comes of it. But now check out the Insider League here. Published by David Portney, who also has Bitcoin, who has also talked with Michael Saylor, but who of course also has a certain affinity for shitcoins. He's talking here about how such scams go down and what's happening behind the scenes. It's truly absolutely fascinating.
I knew about this Argentinian coin coming. And now I've seen people be like, that's inside trading. You know this coin's coming, blah, blah. I don't, who cares if I know? He's like, yeah. And by the way, Hayden, I think I talked to him when he was in Argentina with Milei. So he's like, yeah, this is going to currency for Argentina. And again, man to man, this guy, Hayden, was like, this is good for Argentina, believed in Milei. He showed me a picture of him with Milei, the one that everyone's showing. Obviously, to me, it's like, all right, that's instant credibility. It's like the president of a country. So I knew that launch was coming. Not only did I know that launch was coming, he tried to get me involved, Hayden did, in the launch in what I thought was a good way. So I thought I was in kind of this project, which again, to me is totally fine. Like, all right, I'm going to get coins before this thing goes to like 100 billion. I'm on the ledger. I'm going to sit down with him. Now, here's where it gets a little weird. I, obviously, if I'm getting coins, no, I got to tell people. I'm not going to tweet about this launch and act like I'm just, oh, Malay's the best. I love this guy, and not mention that they had given me coins.
So influencers are deliberately contacted here, and then coins are sent to them. And then they're told, hey, you get the coins if you make it public, when you report about the project, when you say, hey, this is all really great. And he even says that he believed in the project at the beginning because he thought, okay, this would be something cool and so on. And Hayden, the project leader or the scammer, the main scammer, I don't know how to put it, he convinced him here as well. And he did the same with Milei and with other people. And then it's a big temptation here when you get a lot of coins. You know, okay, this thing is going to skyrocket. We already have a lot of insiders. That means not only is he an insider, but there are other insiders as well. And then people already know, okay, at a certain point, we all exit completely together. And then there's basically the exit liquidity that comes in just as the insiders are selling. They go in when it pumps massively upwards. The insiders sell at that moment. And such a rug pull sometimes happens nowadays within 24 hours or so. That means the token is launched, and within 24 hours, it's already being sold off again. And these are the very, very nasty schemes that are now coming to light. And here are further reports that confirm this again from the Hayden who initiated all this, that several influencers were contacted. They could either buy in, as was the case here, where he reports that you could also buy into, private sales where the coins were still cheap. And then you already knew this thing is going to skyrocket. Or other people who had reach, they would be offered the coins for free, but then they had to provide something in return. Tweet here, hey, awesome, I think this coin is so great. That's why you really have to be careful here when some presidents or someone like that tweet, hey, this coin is so awesome. Who knows, maybe Millet was offered something like that, like post here that the coin is so great. And then he gets so many coins for it, or so many millions. Or I don't know what he got for it. It's very, very important to understand what's currently happening in the market. And not to fall for it, but to, as I always say, also keep an eye on Bitcoin, not lose focus on Bitcoin. And maybe gamble around with a small part of the portfolio, but really focus on Bitcoin and don't lose track here. And now we had some very interesting statements from Christian Lindner about Bitcoin. He had an interview with the block trainer. And there were especially two very, very interesting statements. Check it out.
Ms. Lagarde has already said no, that would not be an option for her. My suggestion has received a lot of feedback from the scientific community, mostly critical. Nevertheless, we must have the debate because the significance of crypto assets is increasing worldwide. And I say better, Bitcoin in that context. Now I'm not using the category term crypto assets, but I'm deliberately saying Bitcoin. Because due to the uniqueness of Bitcoin, I actually consider is practically gold. So because it is limited, it is gold, and therefore also inflation-proof, at least a counterbalance to the money supply, which is not limited. And that's why, in my view, it already plays a role, so it's heading in the direction that one should continue to work intensively with this idea in the central bank.
So I found it very, very good that you can really see here that he has engaged with Bitcoin. He also makes a distinction between crypto and Bitcoin. He clearly doesn't talk, as the FDP says, about a crypto reserve, but rather about a Bitcoin reserve. That it actually only makes sense to use Bitcoin as a reserve asset. He also later elaborates on how Bitcoin differs from other altcoins and so on. And here, one must clearly say that Christian Lindner has indeed done his homework. That must be acknowledged, even though it's a shame that he is only now bringing the whole Bitcoin story to light. Or now he is kind of advocating for Bitcoin, and when he was the finance minister and it was about the sales of Bitcoin in Germany, he didn't really speak up. Sure, he couldn't have directly prevented it, but he could have at least exerted some political pressure or something. And now there's a second statement that gives some food for thought, which was posted by Bitcoin in the Bundestag.
With all due respect, that we even still have Bitcoin in Europe is something. Do you know who that's thanks to? Because you might have followed it, this discussion about MiCA markets and crypto assets at the European level. And there, Greens wanted to extend this entire energy taxonomy to Bitcoin as well. That means this whole proof of work approach would have been effectively ended in Europe due to energy intensity. Yes, there was a big debate on the topic. Also within the community. So that was the Federal Republic of Germany, meaning the finance minister from Germany. We had intense discussions with the European Commission and ensured that exactly this did not happen in the legislative process. And also, for example, that self-managed wallets continue to exist. Those were also topics there. So in that respect, this is not for an election campaign that the FDP suddenly discovers Bitcoin, but rather something we've been pursuing for a while. For us, it's about setting some stakes for the future, for what the next German Bundestag can do. We have ideas for that.
So that was probably a bit exaggeratedly phrased here. I honestly don't know if it's solely because of Christian Lindner that Bitcoin still exists here in Europe, and self-hosted wallets, but to me that sounds very, very out there. But hey folks, feel free to let me know in the comments how you see it. In any case, it's positive that politicians have to comment on Bitcoin. There are already several parties in Germany that have opened up to Bitcoin. That's the AfD, that's the FDP. Maybe there will be more. Christian Lindner also points out that there are still very, very many anti-Bitcoin parties. The Greens, who have partially opposed it very strongly, and also the CDU. If you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll also put a link below for you. 21 Bitcoin. Here you can buy Bitcoin easily, safely, and simply. And with the code, you can get up to 20% off fees when purchasing Bitcoin. Guys, peace out. Ein Großteil der Goldbarren der Bank of England ist gefälscht. Gebt euch das mal, wie krass das ist. Zusätzlich kann die Bank of England aktuell ihr Gold nicht ausgeben, was es noch schlimmer macht. Das bestätigt jetzt ein Bericht der australischen Zentralbank. Man muss dazu sagen, der Bericht ist nicht ganz neu, geht aber aktuell in Social Media steil. Wir schauen uns an, was dahinter liegt. Außerdem kommt jetzt heraus, dass der Krypto- und Bitcoin-Markt systematisch manipuliert würde. Es gab hier Insider, die Trump, Melania und Milei-Coins zum Pumpen gebracht haben. Und jetzt sprechen diese Insider darüber, dass sie schon frühzeitig informiert wurden, dass es hier Insiderhandel gab und dass es hier ganz, ganz fiese Machenschaften gab, die zum Verlust von Milliarden von Dollars hier geführt haben. Und das Ganze ist auch an Bitcoin nicht spurlos vorbeigegangen. Wir schauen uns diese Insider-Leaks an oder diese Insider, die jetzt das erste Mal offen über diesen systematischen Betrug sprechen. Und dann haben wir noch neue spannende Aussagen von Christian Lindner, dem ehemaligen Finanzminister in Deutschland, der hier über Bitcoin spricht. Das schauen wir uns ebenfalls an. Aber zuerst fangen wir hier tatsächlich mit der Bank of England an. Ich habe da schon vor kurzem darüber berichtet, dass momentan so viele Leute ihr Gold abziehen wollen, aber es gibt jetzt Lieferschwierigkeiten. Die Bank of England kann das Gold nicht mehr ausliefern. Und ich sage es gleich zu Beginn, dieser Bericht hier ist nicht brandaktuell, sondern der wird jetzt nochmal hochgespült, weil es halt im aktuellen Kontext sehr, sehr gut passt, dass hier die Reserve Bank of Australia, also die Zentralbank von Australien, bestätigt hat, dass hier Goldbarren in der Bank of England gefälscht sind. Es heißt hier, dass wir bestätigen, also dass die Zentralbank von Australien hier bestätigt, dass es hier gefälschte Goldbarren in der Bank of England gibt. Und es heißt hier noch weiter, don't trust verify, also vertraut einfach nicht den Zentralbanken. Es geht dann hier sogar noch weiter und hier wird darüber gesprochen, dass es hier auch Rumors gibt, also Gerüchte gibt, dass es nicht nur in der Bank of England so ist, sondern dass es in mehreren Banken, also mehreren Zentralbanken so ist, dass hier gefälschte Goldbarren rumliegen. Und deshalb ja auch jetzt die Geschichte mit dem Audit im Fort Knox. Wenn hier rauskommen sollte, dass hier dann gar kein Gold enthalten ist oder viel weniger Gold, dann wird es schon einen Einfluss auf die Märkte haben. Es heißt dann hier in diesem Bericht, und das ist wirklich schockierend, diese Information ist streng vertraulich und wir bitten darum, dass sie nicht außerhalb des ständigen Senatsausschusses für Wirtschaft weitergegeben wird. Wir bitten darum, dass sie im Besitz des Sekretariats bleibt und von den Ausschussmitgliedern eingesehen, aber nicht kopiert wird. Die Veröffentlichung dieser Daten würde Sicherheitsrisiken für die Reservebank mit sich bringen. Und das ist auch das, warum viele Leute sagen, das Fort Knox wird nicht auditiert, weil dann würden vielleicht auch solche Dinge hier rauskommen. Man sieht ja auch, dass es hier gewisse Verschweigungsklauseln gibt. Man wollte das auch hier nicht an die Öffentlichkeit bringen, dass hier die Goldbarren gefälscht sind, sondern das ist dann halt an die Öffentlichkeit irgendwie durch irgendwelche Leaks gelangt. Und das ist halt dann im Nachhinein sehr, sehr peinlich als Zentralbank. Hier heißt es dann sogar noch weiter, die Existenz gefälschter Goldbarren wurde in der Vergangenheit durch das Vorhandensein doppelter Seriennummern von Raffinerien festgestellt. Also so hat man das irgendwie dann rausbekommen, dass hier doppelte Seriennummern im Umlauf waren. Und das ist natürlich blöd. Das heißt, wenn man eine Fälschung macht, dann sollte man hier auch die Seriennummer durchziehen. Aber das ist halt immer so, dass so Fälschungen niemals perfekt sind und früher oder später fällt halt so eine Fälschung auf. Das Problem ist halt nur bei Gold, ist sehr, sehr schwierig nachzuvollziehen, ob das wirklich gefälscht ist oder ob es nicht gefälscht ist. Das ist ja der große Vorteil bei Bitcoin, dass man sofort feststellen kann, dass es gefälscht ist oder dass es nicht gefälscht ist. Man muss jetzt ehrlicherweise dazu sagen, es ist kein aktueller Bericht, sondern der ist hier von 2021, aber passt halt hier in den aktuellen Kontext dazu. Und deshalb würde das jetzt auch nochmal hochgespielt hier in Social Media. Und ganz, ganz viele Leute haben das kommentiert, haben es geretweetet, gepostet. Und es ist einfach jetzt hier nochmal eine weitere Geschichte, die zu den aktuellen Vorkommnissen hier dazukommt. Und es ist auch wirklich brisant für Bitcoin. Bitcoin und Gold ist jetzt nicht unbedingt komplett abhängig voneinander oder sowas. Ich meine, oft sehen wir, dass der Goldpreis etwas Bitcoin vorausrennt und dann Bitcoin hinterherzieht. Aber es ist halt hier vor allem interessant, weil Bitcoin hier ähnliche Eigenschaften hat wie Gold und Bitcoin hier auch schon kann man sagen, ein Konkurrent ist und viele Leute zum Beispiel auch umschiften von Gold in Bitcoin, weil sie einfach feststellen, okay, ich habe keinen Bock mehr, dass hier das Gold nicht ausgeliefert wird. Ich habe keinen Bock mehr, dass hier irgendwo gefälschte Goldbarren rumliegen und ich habe auch keinen Bock, dass irgendwo nur Papergold oder sowas existiert und dann switche ich einfach hier in Bitcoin rüber. Aber nochmal, man kann auch beides halten und für den Goldpreis sieht es ja aktuell auch nicht so schlecht aus. Also, dass der Goldpreis noch weiter nach oben geht, ist auch durchaus denkbar. Und dann hatten wir die ganze Geschichte, zuerst mit dem Trump-Coin, dann dem Melania-Coin und dann jetzt zum Schluss noch mit dem Milei-Coin. Und wir haben ja gesehen, dass das alles massive Rugpulls waren, dass dann nur ganz, ganz wenige Leute davon profitiert haben. Die meisten Leute würden massiv ausgeruggt, also haben hier massiv viel Geld verloren. Und jetzt kommt hier tatsächlich Insiderhandel ans Tageslicht. Und das ist eine ganz, ganz krasse Geschichte, die hier auffliegt, weil das Ganze hat ja auch Impact auf Bitcoin, das hat ja einen Impact auf den kompletten Kryptomarkt. Man sieht ja auch, der Libra-Coin, der nach unten geht, der Trump-Coin, der nach unten geht. Der einzige, der sich hier nicht sag ich mal, lumpen lassen hat, das war tatsächlich hier Nayib Bukele. Das muss man ihm auch hier echt zugute halten. Also hier in El Salvador gibt es keine Shitcoin-Spielereien und so. Das heißt, wenn man auch hier oftmals böse Worte gegen Bukele und sowas hört, von wegen kein Legal Tender mehr und was weiß ich was, er hat immer Bitcoin-only das Ganze durchgezogen. Hier waren nie irgendwelche Shitcoins oder sowas involviert. Und das muss man hier auch mal betonen. Wir schauen uns auch gleich einen Videoausschnitt an von einem Insider, der hier wirklich alles auf den Tisch legt, der wirklich hier Tacheles macht und hier ganz klar sagt, wie das hier abgegangen ist, wie diese Scams abgegangen sind, dass es hier Insider gibt und dass hier systematisch der Markt manipuliert würde. Zuerst aber hier sehen wir auch noch, dass jetzt rauskommt, dass hier der Libra-Coin und der Melania-Coin von den gleichen Foundern hergestellt würden. Also das waren quasi alles hier die gleichen Leute. Deshalb muss man auch hier etwas den Milei und die Melania in Schutz nehmen, weil genauso Trump, weil die haben hier scheinbar wahrscheinlich auch nicht so viel mit dem Coin zu tun gehabt, beziehungsweise die würden hier wahrscheinlich selber übers Ohr gezogen. Das heißt, die würden wahrscheinlich auch hier gerugpullt. Ich kann mir nicht vorstellen, dass jetzt hier Milei sich die Taschen voll gemacht hat. Aber es war halt einfach ein sehr, sehr unglückliches Zusammenkommen hier, weil es färbt halt alles auf Milei ab. Und ja, man kann ihn hier nicht komplett aus der Schuld nehmen und er hat ja bestimmt auch eine gewisse Mitverantwortung gehabt und es gibt jetzt auch ein Verfahren gegen ihn und da wird er jetzt angeklagt und was weiß ich, da muss man schauen, was da rauskommt. Aber jetzt zieht euch mal hier den Insider-Leak rein, den hier David Portnoy veröffentlicht, der auch Bitcoin hat, der auch mit Michael Saylor schon geredet hat, aber der natürlich auch eine gewisse Shitcoin-Ader hat. Er redet jetzt hier darüber, wie solche Scams hier abgehen und was hier hinter den Kulissen passiert ist. Das ist wirklich absolut faszinierend.